Hi, my name is Alicia Montoya. This is my presentation portion of the public policy final, and my project is on equity and education. Dear U.S. citizens, education in the United States has always been unequal. If you look at our history as a country, inequality in general has always been an issue. In the realm of education, this could be exemplified by Plessy versus Ferguson. This made separate but equal the precedents and defendable by the 14th Amendment. However, separate but equal is inherently unequal, and thanks to Brown versus the Board of Education and the work accomplished by the Civil Rights Act of 1964, schools were integrated. This should have been the end of inequality in the United States school systems, but unfortunately it wasn't. Schools are unfair because of funding. Public school funding in the United States comes from federal, state, and local sources, but because nearly half of those funds come from local property taxes, the system generates large funding differences between wealthy and impoverished communities. This is, too, inherently unequal. As U.S. citizens, we must demand more from our federal government and demand equality in education for you, your children, and future children. Dear lawmakers, as elected officials, you should want more for our future. In order to achieve this, we need everyone to have a great education, not just some. We need equal funding, especially for marginalized communities who are affected the most by unequal funding. We are greatly limiting who goes on to college, who becomes doctors, lawyers, and other professionals. To get specific in regards to limiting professionals, we are also limiting our pool of candidates in technology. China is quickly catching up to the United States in the tech race, specifically in AI, due to the large amounts of data China has access to from 80 million users of the internet. The United States relies on foreign talent in the tech industry and has lost a lot of talent because of President Trump's anti-immigration rhetoric. In order to stay competitive in the tech race and countless other industries as well, why not educate everyone in school here with up-to-date technology and enough to go around so maybe the U.S. can supply the talent as well. We need more from you as our lawmakers. We need you to fight for a better future for everybody. Why property taxes are not enough. With over half of all school funding coming from local property tax, areas with lower property tax will get less funding. This is specifically the case in poor urban areas and rural areas. An example of this is in Colorado. On the left, we have Weld Central Senior High School with a median property tax of $1,264 per year for a home worth a median value of $195,700. On the right, we have Boulder High School with a mean property tax of $2,014 per year for a home worth a median value of $353,300. Here you can see the difference in local property tax and how Boulder High School is clearly the winner in who gets the most funding. Boulder High School is located in Boulder, Colorado, a relatively wealthy college town, while Weld Central High School is located in a rural Colorado town called Keenesburg. As stated earlier, rural areas are one of the areas hit hardest by low funding. This impact of having lower funding has impacted Weld Central Senior High School. According to greatschools.org, the school gets a 2 out of 10 on college readiness, while Boulder High School gets a 9 out of 10. If Weld County Senior High School received just as much funding as Boulder High School, then maybe they would both have a 9 out of 10 in college readiness as well. What about No Child Left Behind? During the Bush administration in 2002, the No Child Left Behind Act was passed. This act, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, embodies 4 key principles: stronger accountability for results, greater flexibility for states, school districts, and schools in the use of federal funds, more choices for parents of children from disadvantaged backgrounds, and emphasis on teaching methods that have been demonstrated. Flexibility for parents in this act is key, and it for one allows parents with children in schools that fail to meet state standards for at least 2 consecutive years to transfer their child to a better performing public school, including a public charter school within their district. Secondly, transportation to the selected school must be provided by the district. And finally, students from low-income families in schools that fail to meet standards for at least 3 years are eligible to receive supplemental educational services like tutoring, after-school services, summer school, and other opportunities. However, despite the good intentions behind the Act, No Child Left Behind has failed. Under No Child Left Behind, parents can transfer students from underperforming schools to a better school within their district. However, what happens when the whole district is underperforming? In Holyoke, Massachusetts, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education places Holyoke Public Schools in chronically underperforming. So where can these kids go if all schools in the area are not doing well? Well, under No Child Left Behind, students from low-income families and schools that fail to meet standards for at least 3 years are eligible to receive supplemental educational services. This, however, is not always free. In this area of Massachusetts, the people are impoverished, and many times the parents are struggling to put food on the table. And so, because of that, how are they going to be able to pay for tutoring? No Child Left Behind has left many kids behind, and this exemplifies why and how schools just need to be equally funded with the assistance of the federal government. To solve this issue, my policy proposal is to 1. We must prioritize expanding the federal government's relationship with schools and equally across the board fund every single school to be up to par with the wealthiest of schools. This way, all schools in the area with lower property taxes will be up to par with schools in wealthier areas in every single state. We must mandate consistency, secondly, meaning that in the schools that have previously struggled with bringing up standardized test scores, we need to have them on the same page with schools that are excelling. With equal funding, this goal will be easier to reach as more up-to-date resources will help. AP classes and honors classes also need to be made available to these schools as well. Schools need to be funded equally, third, and enough across the board to properly pay teachers. Teachers are not making a comfortable wage, and this is reflected in the classroom in some cases, unfortunately. Why does this matter? This is a very personal topic for me, as I grew up in Brighton, Colorado, and went to school in District 27J. And I have seen firsthand what underfunding looks like. When I was in first grade, I shared the library in a classroom with a fifth grade class because the district couldn't afford to expand. Then in 2015, when I was a junior, the district desperately needed funding again for another expansion. The schools were so overcrowded, it even made the news. And when the bond failed again in 2016, for the following year, we went to a split schedule that eliminated a lunch period and expanded the school day from 7:10 to 5 p.m. in order to spread everyone out to at least attempt to fit everybody into a classroom. This greatly impacted me and my peers because during these times we still didn't have enough seats, despite the new schedule. Kids sat on the floor, on counters, and used clipboards. We didn't have enough computers to the point we had at least 2 students per computer. This isn't even the half of it. In the years between needing more space, we used outdated technology in old and unsafe buildings, and books from over 10 years old. In fact, in 2014, in my economics class, we had textbooks from 2001 and from 2003. About half from 2001, half from 2003. I was in kindergarten in 2003. Fortunately, after all of this, after I graduated in 2016, the bond passed and the district could expand, which solved one issue. But ignored quite a bit of other issues. I am now an employee at the high school in preparation for my career as a teacher and have seen how much the teachers I work under are underpaid and overworked as the school district was forced into the 4-day work week and school week. Another national story due to underfunding and the inability to pay teachers. This is not okay. Millions of schools feel the same burden of underfunding that I did. And as parents of students in situations like this, you should want just as good of an education for your kids as the top performing parents are getting for their children. As legislators, how is this fair? How is this preparing students equally for a shot at college and becoming productive members of society when this is the treatment that is received based off of somebody's zip code? That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Here are the sources that I have used, and thank you.